can't believe how quickly this year is going. We're nearly at the end of July, which means that today I'm recording my TBR video for the month of August. Now, before I dive straight into the books that I'm going to be picking up in the month of August, I just wanted to say that I've had a pretty stressful week. My mother was admitted to the hospital because she was unwell and has been there for about a week. Now, she's been really well looked after and hopefully she'll be home early next week. But I did want to then say a massive thank you to anybody who's watching this video who works in the emergency services, particularly healthcare, because the nurses and doctors have been doing an absolutely fantastic job. I don't know how they do it, to be honest. It is a very challenging job with limited resources, and the pay is not great, but these nurses and doctors are absolutely fantastic. Been really taking care of my mum, and you know, I just wanted to take a moment to, like I say, thank anyone who works in the emergency services, particularly nurses and doctors, and anyone else who works in a hospital. You know, all of the staff, the cleaners, the people that come round with the food, the caterers, the porters, everybody has been absolutely brilliant. So I just wanted to take a moment to say that. If you've watched one of my TBR videos before, then you'll know that this is one of my favourite videos to record. I absolutely love recording these, mainly because I don't have to do much prep for this. It's mainly determined by what I pull out of the jar and what's on the cards. So that not only means, like I say, that it's low preparation, but also it's exciting because I get to find out what I'm going to be reading next month. Now, because of everything that's been going on in the last couple of weeks, I am slightly behind on my reading. And also, I don't want to put too much pressure on myself to commit to too many books. So I'm going to keep this fairly limited today. I'm estimating that it's going to be about 9 books that I'm going to be talking about today, which is perfect because hopefully 9 books is completely achievable. So I'll make sure that I tick off all the books that I'm supposed to read, but also gives me some wiggle room as well to mood read, because I really want to start picking up some books that have been on my TBR for absolutely ages, and read some authors that you know, I really want to read and haven't had a chance to yet, as well as continuing on with some series that I've started but have never finished. So as always, I'm going to kick off by picking a star from this jar. Now, this is my TBR jar. All of the stars in here are basically a bit of paper that I folded to create stars, and these are all recommendations by people who've been watching my video, who have put comments in the comments description box down below or have completed my book recommendation form. So thank you to everybody who's recommended a book to me, and this month I had 5 new recommendations, so they are all written down, turned into stars, and now in this jar. And the recommendations, I had Unconditional by QB Tyler from somebody called Amy, so thank you very much for that recommendation, Amy. I had 3 recommendations from somebody called Jessica, who recommended Terrible Beauty by Anna Zares, Mafia Mistress by Mina Finelli, and also the entire Sinful series by Trilina Ricci. So all of those have gone into the jar as well. And then finally from Nora Warder, she has recommended Kingdom Fall by A. Zavarelli. So again, thank you very much for recommending those books to me. I've written those down and they are now in the jar. As always, it's a good time to remind you, if you want to recommend a book that you would like me to read and review, then please pop a comment in the comments box down below, or like I say, you can fill in my book recommendation form, a link to which is in the description box down below. Okay, so without further ado then, let's give this a really good shake up, tip them out, and we'll put one here, and this time I have picking out a blue star. So the one I picked out is Lake's Rain by Anna Ring. It's a mafia romance and it was recommended by Kiss the Movies 9173. So thank you very much for the recommendation. I'll hold the slip of paper up here, but it will be difficult to focus, so I'll take a picture of it as always and put it in the top left hand corner so you can see the recommendation. Now, I've also just tried to look it up on Amazon so that I can read the synopsis to you. But it was actually quite difficult to find. It didn't come up when I put in the title, I also couldn't find the author, and then I ended up Googling it and it took me to the US version of Amazon, but I have now managed to find it on the UK version of Amazon. So maybe it's sort of in the dungeon, as it were, so it's quite difficult to do a search for it and find it on Amazon. And it also does look like this is book one of a trilogy, and therefore there's potentially a cliffhanger at the end of this one. I don't normally like to read those, but I'll give this a go, and obviously if I'm not into it, then I won't carry on in the series, but hopefully I'll love it and continue with this trilogy. So the blurb on this one says, she rules the world from the shadows. Gang leaders, drug lords and criminals alike cower at her name. Lake finally had control of her life. She was wanted and feared by everyone in the criminal underworld, by all but one. When New York's most prominent gang leader sees Lake in her dangerous element, he finds himself captivated by her. No matter how much Lake tries to run and hide, she soon finds herself battling between who she is and who she wants to be. What will win, her head or her heart? It says trigger and graphic warning. This book has mentions of abuse, torture, killing, kinks and more. So that looks interesting, so I'll be very intrigued to pick that one up. Okay, on then to my next TBR jar. This one is one where I keep some of my favourite booktubers recommendations in here. I did it at the end of 2023, so I went through some of my some of their favourites, picked out ones that I hadn't read yet and popped those in the jar. I only actually had 2 stars left, so what I did was I went through some of the mid-year freakout tags just to see if anyone had recommended anything from the first part of the year that really took my fancy, caught my eye, and I ended up putting 2 additional books in here, so we've got 4 stars to choose from. I'm just going to give this a shake up, and I'm also going to just turn away while I pick a star so I don't cheat and know what the colour is. Okay, so this just happens to be one that I actually put in today, and this is Unsteady by Peyton, Corinne. This was recommended by Jen from the Book Refuge, and it's an ice hockey romance. She actually has absolutely loved this one. It was actually a Patreon pick, so I'm one of her Patreon members, and it was actually a Patreon pick a couple of months ago, which she absolutely loved, and so it did a deep dive review for that. So if you're really interested in her thoughts on that book, then definitely check out her Patreon, and then you get access to all of the reviews as well. But I'm really pleased that I picked that out of the jar for this month. So this is like an ice hockey romance, and the blurb says, Reese is desperate to feel anything. Sadie wants to stop feeling so much. Reese Kotetsky is back, at least he's supposed to be. During last year's Frozen Four, the Waterfall University hockey captain NHL legacy took a brutal hit that left him with a concussion and a new discomfort on the ice. Plagued by nightmares and panic attacks every time he attempts to skate, Reese wonders if he'll ever play again, or if he'll ever want to. Sadie Brown is staying focused this semester, no matter what. Currently drowning in debt, custody hearings for her younger brothers and skating practices, she's just trying to make it to the next day. A Spitfire figure skater, known for her bad attitude and frequent disappearing acts, Sadie has a reputation on campus, and it's not a pretty one. When she accidentally witnesses one of the Golden Boy hockey captain's panic attacks and attempts to help him, a strange sort of understanding strikes up between them. No questions asked, just comfort. But Reese finds himself drawn to Sadie. Where he feels empty, a shell of the man and player he was before, Sadie is so full of everything, it bursts from her. Every emotion she feels seems like it's blasted at max volume. Reese is desperate to feel anything. Sadie wants to stop feeling so much, but healing doesn't mix with secrets, and they're both skating on thin ice. So like I said, I've heard really good things about this one. I'm very excited to read it, and glad to be adding that one to my TBR for August. Okay, so next up I'm going to be picking a prompt card from this particular pack here. I'm going to give these a shuffle, and then we'll pick this card. So this one says, choose a book which has a couple on the front cover. Okay, so I was flicking through my kind of my TBR on Amazon, and there was a couple of books with couples on the front covers, and then I came across this one here, which is Close Quarters by Kandi Steiner, and I thought, oh yes, because I absolutely really love Kandi Steiner. I've really enjoyed the last couple of books that I've read from her, and also I recently watched a live YouTube video that both Kandi and Diana Darling basically streamed live, and they were just chatting about their books, and they did mention Close Quarters, so I thought actually it's a great opportunity to give this one a read. The blurb on this one said, "Below Deck meets billionaire romance in this fresh and captivating romance set on a mega yacht in the Mediterranean. My boyfriend's billionaire boss always gets what he wants. Menacingly handsome and unquestionably powerful, Theo Whitman needs only snap his fingers to have a flock of supermodels fall at his feet. So when his steel grey eyes first meet mine, I expect him to pass right over me, to not give so much as a second thought to my presence. Instead, he sees me, truly sees me, and for a girl who prefers to hide behind her camera lens, it's the most unnerving experience of my life. Until he asked me to stay on his yacht for the summer. All I have to do is earn my keep is to be Theo's on-call photographer when he has guests, and I'll get a free ride through the Mediterranean with my boyfriend. Easy peasy. Still, my skin prickles in warning when I say yes. As the humid days fade into balmy nights, I can't seem to avoid Theo, and when he finds me, it's like a rabbit running into a wolf. His intense gaze immobilises me. The way he speaks strips me bare. Every brush of his skin sears me like a violent flame. My boyfriend's billionaire boss always gets what he wants, and this time I think he wants me." Okay, and then my next one is from this stack of cards here, so I'll give those a shuffle and I'll pick out my next prompt. We'll go here and I'll pick this one, and it says, "Read a book you've recently bought." So that's quite helpful, isn't it? Because I often buy books intending to read them and then actually don't get around to it. So let's have a look to see what I've bought recently that I haven't read yet. Okay, so the majority of the books that I've recently bought are all books that I've previously read. But I do have some on my shelves that I haven't read yet, and one of them I've wanted to get to for a long time, I haven't got around to yet, which I really want to put on my TBR, is The Takeover by T L Swan. Now, I know I mention her all the time, I apologise, but I'm not sorry because I absolutely love her videos and her recommendations, and this one is recommended very highly by Jen from the Book Refuge. In fact, as you know, I'm her Patreon, and sometimes she also offers the chance to purchase annotated books. This is one of her favourite books. The character in here is one of her top book boyfriends, and so I couldn't resist but to ask her to annotate this book for me. So this is an annotated copy from Jen from the Book Refuge. Like I said, it's been on my shelf for a while. I've been meaning to get to it, haven't yet, so I'm delighted to have this excuse to finally put it on my TBR and read it in the month of August. So the blurb on this one said, "I first met Tristan Miles at a meeting where he was trying to take over my late husband's company. He was powerful, arrogant and infuriatingly gorgeous, and I hated him with every cell in my body. In the shock of the century, he called me 3 days later and asked me on a date. I would rather die than date a man like him, though I do have to admit it was good for the ego. Turning him down was the highlight of my year. 6 months later, he was the guest speaker at a conference I attended in France. Still arrogant and infuriating, but this time surprisingly charming and witty. When he looked at me, I got butterflies, but I can't go there. He's just a player in a hot suit, and I'm just a widow with 3 unruly sons. I just need this conference to be over, because everybody knows that Tristan Miles always gets what he wants, and what he wants is me." So, like I say, really excited for this one, and delighted it's finally on my TBR. Okay, so that wraps up all of the surprise books that I'll be reading in the month of August. And now what I want to do is talk about some of the new releases that I really want to pick up next month. The first one is actually a new release at the end of this month, but it doesn't come out till the 31st of July, so I'm not going to get to it in the month of July, so I pushed it into August, and that is Gabrielle Sand's upcoming release, When He Desires. Now, I've only read one book by Gabrielle Sand so far, but I absolutely loved it. Really intend on reading the rest in the series. The first one I read was When She Unravels, which is book 1 in the Fallen series. Now, Gabrielle Sand is actually going to be appearing at Rare 24 in Edinburgh later this year, and I have actually pre-ordered all 4 books in that series, so I'm waiting to get those, and then we'll be really looking forward to cracking on and reading that series. But like I said, she's just about to bring out a new book, When He Desires. Now this one is actually a book 1 of a duet, so this probably will end up on a cliffhanger, but the good news is that book 2 is actually due out at the end of August, so we'll follow fairly closely behind, so hopefully it won't have to wait too long for this one. And actually, if I time it just right, I could probably pick up when he desires towards the end of August, and then carry on with the second book in that duet, which will come out, which is When He Takes. But again, that's not due out till the very end of August, so probably won't get to that one until September. So When He Desires, the blurb for this one says, pretending to date my handsome new housemate was already a bad idea, but then I discover he's no ordinary guy. He's a mobster in hiding, and in this story he's not the hero but the wicked villain. Rowan Miller isn't used to hearing the word no. I guess when you're 6'4", gorgeously tattooed and sculpted like a Michelangelo masterpiece, women tend to throw themselves at you. But in a small town like Darkwater Hollow, a reputation as a womanizer will catch up with you and your business eventually. Which is why Rowan needs a fake girlfriend to prove he's reformed. Enter me. When my house goes up in flames, I agree to Rowan's offer in exchange for a place to stay. After my last brutal breakup, I've sworn off charming, smooth-talking men, but the way Rowan looks at me, hungry and possessive, makes my pulse race and my skin sizzle with heat. The longer we pretend to be in love, the more real it feels. So this sounds like then it's going to be also fake dating, which I absolutely love. It's one of my favourite tropes. So a perfect combo of a mobster in a fake dating scenario. Then the next one that's due out on the 3rd of August, and we'll pick this up when it comes out, is Alpha Ruined by Liliana Carlisle. Now she generally writes a make-verse, and I really like her style of writing. So far the full blurb isn't out on this one, but what it says so far is it's set after the events of another book she's written, Alpha Inmate, with a new couple, and it features an investigative journalist, a maga, and a serial killer, Alpha. This is a standalone, but reading Alpha Inmate first will provide a larger backstory. So it's enemies to lovers, tons of angst and HEA, featuring scenting, heats, knots, nesting and ruts. So like I say, I absolutely love Liliana Carlisle's Omega-verse and always pick up her stories as soon as they are available, and this one will be no different. So looking forward to seeing that when it comes out. Then I've got 2 new releases that are coming that I'm hoping to get arcs for. The first one is Brutal Savage by Lilian Harris. This one is due out on the 6th of September, but like I say, I'm in her arc team, and usually she releases the art copies a week or 2 before release date, and if that's the case, I'll get this right at the end of August and I'll pick it up as soon as I can. This is book 2 in her Savage King series. I really enjoyed book 1, so really looking forward to this one. And it says it's a single dad, forced marriage, Irish mafia romance. The blurb is a new steamy single dad, forced marriage, age gap standalone romance between a teacher and an Irish mafia boss. Callous and cruel, he's a devil in every sense of the word, and now my new husband. Tyler Quinn barged into my life and demanded I become his wife, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. Because this single dad isn't just anyone, he's the head of the Irish mob. He says he needs a wife to cement his place in the organisation, and I'm the one he wants. And that's not all. In exchange for money I desperately need, he demands I have his baby. I've spent the past year running from danger, and now I'm trapped in his golden cage. Yet I can't deny the blazing attraction between us. When he touches me, I come alive until I start to fall for the devil himself. Now, instead of running, there's nothing I want more than to stay. But when my past comes back to haunt me, I have no choice but to leave him behind, except he won't let me go without a fight, and he'll drag me to hell with him just to prove it. So, like I say, I'm really looking forward to this one. Hope I'm going to get the arc. If I do, I should read this one at the end of August, and if I don't, then it will definitely be in September. Then another new release that is due out on the 26th of August is Heart of Frost and Scars by Pam Godwin, which is book 3 in the Frozen Fate trilogy, and is the final book in this series, which I am highly anticipating and can't wait to read. Now again, hopefully I will get an ARC copy of this. Hopefully Pam keeps me in her ARC team, and I'll get a copy of this early, so we'll definitely read it as soon as I can. With the other 2 books, I also did a reading vlog for this one as well, and I'll probably do the same for this one just to round that series out. So the blurb on this one said, on the silent ache, the shadow that lingers, the present from your past, the knife in your heart. In the chilling finale of the Frozen Fate trilogy, Frankie enters a world far deadlier than the one she escaped. A sinister threat lurks in the shadows, hunting her with a dark obsession as her savage protectors battle the rules of society. Thrust into the civilized world, they spiral into violence and refuse to conform, their wild natures threatening to tear apart their bond. Amid these struggles, her seductive billionaire husband fights to reclaim her love. Caught between possessive men, a deadly stalker, and a legacy of pain, she must decide her fate. Choose wrongly and she'll lose everything to a monster with a heart of frost and scars. So like I say, cannot wait to read this finale. I'm sure it'll be absolutely fantastic. Okay, and the final one then I want to commit to reading in the month of August is Sweetest, Oblivion by Danielle, and this is volume 1 in the Maid series. Now, this has been on my TBR for a while. The reason I've not dived into this one, because it is a mafia romance, is because I generally like to read books in order, and I've heard that book 1 isn't as good as the other 2 books. However, a number of people have recommended this to me, and it's recently been drawn back to my attention. So I thought, while it's top of mind, I'd put this one on my TBR and give it a go, because I definitely want to make sure that I continue to read mafia romances so that I can recommend them to you guys. So the blurb on this one says, she's a romantic at heart, living in the most unromantic of worlds, nicknamed Sweet Belly for her docile nature. Elena smiles on cue and has a charming response for everything. She's the favoured daughter, the perfect mafia principessa, or was. Now all she can see in the mirror's reflection is blood staining her hands like crimson paint. They say first impressions are everything. In the murky waters of New York's underworld, Elena's sister is arranged to marry Nicholas Russo, a made man, a boss, a cheat, even measured against mafia standards. His reputation stretches far and wide and is darker than his black suits and ties. After his and Elena's first encounter ends with an accidental glare on her part, she realises he's just as rude as he is handsome. She doesn't like the man or anything he stands for, though that doesn't stop her heart from pattering like rain against glass when he's near, nor the shiver that goes down her spine at the sound of his voice, and he's always near, telling her what to do, making her feel hotter than any future brother-in-law should. Elena may be the sweeter belly on the outside, but she's beginning to learn she has a taste for the darkness, for rough hands, cigarettes and whiskey-coloured eyes. Having already escaped one scandal, however, she can hardly afford to be swept up into another. Besides, even if he were hers, everyone knows you don't fall in love with a made man, right? There we go. That is 9 books I'm going to commit to reading in the month of August. Really looking forward to those. Some exciting books in there. And I can't wait to read them and share my thoughts about those with you. So there we go. That is all I've got for you for today, but just a reminder, if you like this, please give this a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content from me, and as always, if you want to recommend a book for me to read, you can put it in the comments down below or in any of my other videos, and also you can fill in my book recommendation form, the link to which is in the description box below as well. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye. Gang leaders, drug lords and criminals alike. Gang leaders, drug lords and criminal. Gang leaders, drug lords and criminal. Can't say the word criminals.